Okay. Alright, this is gonna be a demonstration for how to modify and change your lines, your drawings, and the with your logo designs. So, in terms of the next part of the assignment, and you can kind of clearly see this more with the the logo that I did before, with the coffee cup looking professional. I have like a couple of different versions of the logo drawing that I did here. Alright, so basically we started with this one in the middle here, which was my initial sketch drawing that I did here. And I kind of took it into two different directions where I went more with a stylized drawing of my initial logo, and then the other one I kind of made it a little bit more unified, a little bit more graphic. I'm gonna actually take that out just to show that part. So, if you look at like this one right here, though, everything's like, more kind of like, more cleaner, more like a graphic logo, whereas this is more like a stylized drawing. So, I'm going to show you both methods with like either or direction that you want to go with your project. But again, it's really just preference though. But, I want you to kind of just lean towards, working on like either one that's a little bit more stylized with the lines or one that's more a little bit more graphic. All right, so I'm going to show you both methods. So in most cases, though, you guys will probably go with this method right here where you're stylizing the lines. So, and, definitely if you have like a really, really nice drawing, though, I do encourage you to go with like this method here. If you're really, really happy with the drawing, all you got to do is just change like a few things. So in terms of like stylizing the lines, though, we're just kind of just be changing just the different line weights when we, work on your drawing. So, very similar like working in like pen and ink, be using like those same properties, those same ideas. You basically just make some lines a little bit thicker, a little bit thinner in some areas, and it really depends on like what you're trying to emphasize or make pop out more. So. Okay, so all you have to do in order to do that, though, you're going to use the selection tool, and you're going to click, drag the corners, and highlight the entire drawing. So at this point now, you can just hide your drawing layer. You don't really need it anymore. It might actually distract you a little bit looking at the actual sketch or drawing that you've done. Unless if you have like thick lines, thin lines you thought about, Well, actually, we might keep it in here because I do have some thick and thin lines here. So I just click and drag, highlight my drawing, and first thing I'm gonna do is we're actually gonna group this layer together. So if you right click, you can click on group, or Command G is also grouping too. So now when you group things together, though, it's just you have to just click and drag, and it won't like pick up the individual pieces. So good idea to group it. You can always ungroup it later, if you if you want to change things. But when we group it though, it's everything kind of stays together. So we're gonna group it together. Click on it, and we're gonna do object and expand. Okay, so just make sure you're happy with how your lines look, the initial drawing looks, because after you click on this expand button, though, it's gonna basically change all your lines, all your things into shape. So this is kind of like the point of no return when we go into more detail. So you can leave these all checked, just click OK. And then it's basically going to turn everything into a shape. So one nice thing about making it all into one shape, though, is we can kind of zoom in a lot closer. If we click on the individual lines, the points. So you got these direct selection tool, so you can click on the anchor points and the line itself. So you click on the line itself, then click on the point. So it's always the line point, and then you can change your line weights. So these will move the individual points to make it thicker, and then these right here are your curves. So they actually control like where you want the curvature to go of the lines. So you'll be playing around with like those two things when you guys are playing around with the line weight. So now this does take some time to do, but like just putting a little bit of time and effort into this particular part, it's going to really make that drawing stand out and look a lot more interesting in the picture. So I'll zoom in a little bit closer on some areas. So like right here, like you'll see like it's basically like pinpointing each of the V curves. So if you have some nice clean curves, it should be pretty easy. Some points though, like in the corners, it's like a little hard. You have to click on this point here, then click on that point, and then click on that point to make it thicker. I usually like clicking on the inside points and then make it thicker, just because those are a little bit easier to manipulate. Because it's like, you know, as opposed to 3 points, you only have like 1 point to just kind of like, you know, move things around. So you're just going to adjust the lines. I'll probably zoom in real close to do this, just because it's kind of hard to see like the individual points. But you know, you click on the point, click on the line, click on the point, and then you can move it around. So make sure you go in that order though. So line, point, then adjustments. Because if you click on the line, then you try to click and drag the point. Oh shit, I think they might have fixed that this version. It used to be like hard to like click on the points. So line, point. Oh, okay. I guess they fixed that. It used to be you had to click on the line and then the point. I see that they fixed that. So again, some of these are a little harder to adjust, so that's why you have to kind of zoom in closer. Okay, but I would just kind of adjust your lines as you know go along, work on it more. And I ain't gonna lie though, this does take a bit of time to do, but this will definitely make your drawing look a lot more interesting and give you a little bit more play in terms of, you know, the look of your logos. So like one thing I usually like doing though is I usually like making lines a little bit thicker, like around the edges of like areas where they come in. So you see like this coffee smoke is like coming in out of the coffee. So I make it a little bit thicker on the edges here and then make it thinner as it goes outward. So that's something I typically like to do. So thicker, it's like thick to thin. I usually like doing that. And then if you want to see your progress, you can always, you know, click on the eyeball here. And another thing I like doing too is like anywhere like it has like you know, the edges, I always make the lines a little bit thicker on the edges. It's just something I naturally like to do. And you probably do want to hide the drawing. So, you know, I could play around with this part here, but this is like a lot easier if I do that. You know, definitely you'll get a lot more work done if you work on the edges. Unless if you made like a lot of little points, which hopefully nobody did. You know, this should be fairly painless process. So you see like these lines here, you can always manipulate them to go to the end. So, you know, make it thicker. It's touching the pot, and then thinner as it goes outward. Okay, but basically you'll just change the line away, and I would just spend some time just to do it for like the whole drawing. Oh, another thing too, I forgot to show you guys the words. If you wanted to, you can use the type tool to add words. So, you know, if you're not really happy with how your text looks, you can use the type tool. You just click on the type here, type in your initials, the keyboard, and then use the move tool to move it around. So you click on here, you can drag to make it bigger, smaller, you go with the shift key to resize it. And then, you know, if you want to change your fonts, you go type in character to change it here. So this gives you like a lot of different fonts you can kind of play around with. So that's if you're not happy with like the drawing of your words. You know, I strongly suggest using the type tool for this part here if it's, you know, applicable to like what you're doing. Or you can find something similar to like what you sketched too. Sometimes, you know, just tracing the letters is kind of hard to do, but if you have like some nicely drawn words, you can use that as well. Okay, so that's changing the line weight. Now, if you want to go the other direction with the project, you can, you know, change things into some shapes. So, you know, for example, I'll just go to my sketch here. So if you know that you have like some shapes that you can use in the shape tools, like the ellipse, the rectangle tool, you know, those are like the two main tools here though, but there's ways you can kind of like combine shapes and make completely new shapes with, you know, those existing shapes that you have here. So for example, if I wanted to make like an equilateral cylinder, you know, I can make like a rectangle here like this. Just gonna make a rectangle with the rectangle tool. and you know, and then we can use the click and hold, use the ellipse tool as well. So we can kind of combine these shapes together to make a whole new shape. So the only thing is you have to just make sure everything is like perfectly aligned. Otherwise your shape's gonna do something like, you know, really weird with it. So, you know, we have like, you know, this tool here. And one I'm gonna show you guys is copy and paste. So you do Command C to copy, as in cat, and Command V to paste. You can make a copy of like that same shape. So I'm gonna use that same shape on the bottom here. So if we click and highlight these 3 shapes with the selection tool, we can use a tool called the Pathfinder. So Pathfinder can help to make some new shapes that you might not used before. So for example, you know, if you use this unite button, this will combine all the shapes together. So we're going to combine this ellipse with this rectangle with this ellipse below it, and then that's going to create the cylinder that we want. So once you make that cylinder, you can adjust the size, fit it in. So this is like if you wanted to, you know, look very graphic, very clean, very neat. You know, you can use this method. But, you know, definitely if you have like, you know, circles or rectangles, you know, I would definitely use like this, you know, use the shape tools. You know, don't draw things out unless if you really need to. So I'm just gonna draw this ellipse right here. So, you know, basically I'm just kind of redrawing it, but making it a little bit more, more even. So, you know, we have like this drawing of like one of the collars of the neck. So, you know, I can do Command C to copy, Command V to paste. You know, we can essentially use that as like, you know, our drawing for this too. So, you know, I hate to say this, but this is like we're kind of just redrawing the the drawing again, but you know, we're just making it a little bit more graphic. You can also mirror things too. If you go to Object, Transform, Reflect, you can mirror things. So it's not like you're drawing from complete scratch, but you know, this is like if you want that more even, clean look with your logo design. So, you know, I'm not really making it require that you have to go this method though, but I just thought I'd show some of y'all if you know, you're interested in the Pathfinder tool. So I'm trying to remember how to create like that tie shape. You know, like you can also combine shapes together. So, you know, if you want to do like the ellipse tool, you know, what's the nice thing about the Illustrator is, you know, you can make things even. You can also combine it with like the pen tool. That's a little off. And definitely if you're using this method though, I would just make sure everything is like perfectly even. And that's pretty even right there. So I'm combining like these 2 shapes together. If you do the same thing, you can use the unite tool to bring it together. That's a completely different shape, but you know, that I could use that as like my tie shape though over here. So yeah, definitely a very useful tool. You could also use the ellipse tool to create some curvatures too. So we can do like the circle here. Again, this ain't gonna be exactly like how I did this one right here, but I'm gonna use a circle here. I'm gonna see Command C to copy, Command V to paste. So, you know, if you highlight these 2, you know, we can also unite, but we can also cut them out together. So when I click on this cut tool, this will cut it into like a crescent. So it basically cuts the inside circle on top of the other circle. So you can do something like this where you cut this out, use this as like kind of like a crescent. You know, we could do some like interesting things like copy and pasting this, you know, really cool crescent shape that I made. You know, you can even like manipulate the look of the shape too. I'm seeing if I can kind of use this as like my, you know, as my like my smoke shape. Again, a lot of it's just experimenting. There's not really like a set way of like how to use this tool, but you know, some like really interesting things you can do with it. So really feeling this, but you know, this is like something you could possibly do, you know, if you wanted to create a little bit more creative interests. Maybe we can mirror it. Okay, but you can go either or approach though. You know, it may not be as much crazy stuff as I'm doing like right now with your shapes, but you know, it's just showing you what's possible with this program. Okay. Let's see if I can cut the shape out that I made. Oh, you can always cover it too. It's like a cheap, easy way of fixing this. Essentially, you're just using the shape still with the Pathfinder to, you know, make what you want to make. All right. Oh, one last thing too. Even before you begin the, oh yeah, one last thing too I'd want to show you is, you know, you just want to just make some thick and thin lines real quickly. You know, just use like what we learned in the first exercise. You know, use the stroke tools. This is under Windows Stroke. This is like a really easy way to just make your lines thick and thin to, you know, just kind of get that like started. So like, for example, if you're doing this again, you know, you could just kind of do this on the start. I probably should have showed this in the very beginning, but you know, this is like a really quick, easy way to just add some thick and thin lines. You know, just to get like, you know, make the logo pop out more. All right.